Hello guys, my name is Morgan, and this is actually my first legitimate YouTube video, so I'm kind of excited. But either way, I thought it would be a good idea to do a review on Celexa, or I believe it's also called Cytopram. Do your research either way, because I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. But either way, I know for a fact it's Celexa. And, for a long time, I've always been scared to resort to medicine because I always thought that I was strong enough to find ways myself, or I also thought that my issues weren't as severe as they were. You know what I mean? And also, I just didn't want to depend on medicine, and I always felt like people who needed medicine, it had to get to a point where it was severely affecting their life. And I think it had to come to a point where I had to realize that, there are parts of my life that are severely affected by this. It's getting to a point with my concentration, that is. It's getting to a point where, for a while, and especially since I've had my son, he's almost 2 now, but it's gotten to a point where I could be in mid-conversation. I could be so passionate about what I'm saying, and then all of a sudden I just forget what I'm talking about out of nowhere. And it's frustrating, especially when you're dealing with people who are, you're being interviewed by people for potential jobs, things like that. So, of course, that's affecting your life. Or efficiency. I'm all about efficiency with everything. I love organization. Love it, love it, love it. And when I'm, with my concentration, I could be walking in one room and then forget what I'm going in there for, or start doing something else. I could go into one room for something so simple, and before you know it, the house is clean. And then I'm like, oh, I really needed that because now I'm like 20 minutes late for work, and then stuff like that. So when it gets to a point where it starts affecting your life like that, I'm not recommending relying on medicine. I always feel like you should try any natural routes that you possibly can first. But I feel like it's gotten to a point for me where I wanted to consider some type of medicine. So with that being said, furthermore, it also took me so long to narrow down the exact issues that I was having, because a lot of times we don't realize that the issues that we have, such as anxiety or depression, are actually byproducts of the root situation, such as concentration issues, which lead to, priorities being lessened, and overall, less poor quality of life. So, which can, of course, lead you into a depression or anxiety. So we end up treating the anxiety and the depression instead of the actual root issue. So that's why it took me so long to overall come to consider medicine. So when I finally took those concerns to my doctor, she recommended Celexa, and she said because it's, she notices a good response rate in young women. It's non-habit forming. That's also something I was scared of. I didn't want I've heard a lot of people take certain medicines for anxiety, depression, concentration, or anything like that, that either have zombified them or just overall gave them worse symptoms than they had to begin with. So that's, of course, another reason. But either way, she recommended Celexa, and she started me out on 10 milligrams, I believe. Yeah, 10 milligrams. And I believe that's what a lot of people start out with. But she started me out there, and specifically due to my size as well. But, I started taking it, and for a month, and I noticed a difference. I definitely did. I noticed that it actually treated multiple symptoms. I was looking for the concentration. I was so focused on narrowing down to that. Oh, this is what I need to concentrate on now. ADHD symptoms, that I was no longer thinking about the anxiety and those types of treatment, because I had actually tried to get Prozac before, jump into the worst case scenario right away, right? So started out with Prozac, didn't didn't even really give that a try. Maybe took it 3 times, and by that time my situation was starting to brighten up. So it was hard to tell, like, if I was, it's hard to tell with certain things, whether it's psychological, whether it's external circumstances, etc. So I just didn't bother with taking it. Either way, I've taken Celexa, and the first month I took it on the 10, I did again notice a difference. So when I went back for my follow-up, she asked how I was doing. And I told her, I said, I definitely feel a difference, but I definitely feel like I could do a little bit more, because I still noticed some of the symptoms were there, but again, a difference. And again, jumping back to what I said, it was, again, treating some of my other symptoms like anxiety, which I wasn't thinking about. A lot of the flutters and physical things that come about from what we experience was starting to diminish a little bit, like the heart palpitations and when you start easily getting overwhelmed in social situations, etc. And I've taken, since, I asked her to up the dosage, and she went to 20. Since I've been on 20, I've been fine. Like, of course I struggle with day-to-day things, and with me, there's always a distinction between my own ability to be able to cope with things, and overall realizing that I don't need to compare myself to other people. I don't need to, constantly see how other people are coping with things. And, you see people, without going too much into a tangent, you see people that are at work with a broke leg on their day off, getting their paycheck, but then you're so overwhelmed about something a little bit more minor, therefore you might feel the need to, especially if you're introverted, you might feel the need to call off and go home and potentially jeopardize something that's a priority, such as having a full paycheck at the end of the month, just because you're so overwhelmed that you can't make it through the rest of the day at work. And then you beat yourself up even more when you're at home by yourself, because that person at work is at work getting money and their leg is broke. Of course, they want to be at home, but they're not. Don't compare yourself. That's one of my tidbits of advice. And this isn't an advice video, but of course, if you guys want those, I'll definitely do more, because that is my field, and I just overall love giving people peace. But either way, since I've been taking it, I've felt great. A lot of my symptoms have diminished down to almost nothing. And again, it's not going to take it down to nothing for everyone, and it might not work for everyone, but for me, it definitely has. And again, it's still a balance of knowing that you can't rely solely on medicine. You always have to find your own coping mechanisms through day-to-day life. You know what I mean? Find ways to cope, to make it literally second by second, and that's how you can get through. And if you do consider medicine, I would recommend Celexa, because again, there's been, I haven't given it long. I've been pretty consistent, which I'm surprised that I've been as consistent as I've been with it. Again, another reason I didn't trust myself with taking medicine, because of my memory. But I've only given it like a day that I've missed it, so I haven't had a chance to see how I react without it. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But I will tell you that I don't feel bad about it. My instinct doesn't feel bad about it. Now, of course, if something happens to where I don't take it for a while and something happens, I'll definitely try to keep you guys updated so that I'm not giving inaccurate information. But overall, it has been a life changer, and that's why I'm so passionate about this video, because I relate to people on a very intense level, and of course, when I find something that's taken pretty much my whole life to find, then of course I want to share it with you guys. So that's my review on Celexa, and I appreciate you guys for watching. I really do. Please feel free to like and subscribe. If you guys have ideas for other videos that you would like, please let me know in the comments. You guys enjoy the rest of your day and stay blessed.